Good afternoon, Rotarians. A lively bunch today. Welcome to the March 12th meeting of the Rotary Club Des Moines. I'm your president, Tim Lilwitz. Randy Worth, are you greeting today? Thank you, Randy. See here? And all the way in the back. Thank you, Randy. And then Jackie Norris will be up here in a moment to share a moment of inspiration, followed by the pledge and the four-way test. And as a reminder, you too can sign up for one of those weekly duties, either online at the link in the Tuesday newsletter or through the a piece of paper on the table out by the badges. So with that, Jackie, please come on up and then we'll greet each other.
Hello, Rotarians. I'm going to ask all of you actually to stand now. Hey, Skylar. See ya. And while you're all standing, I do want to let you know that Air Force did beat Iowa on the rugby pitch, so go Air Force. All right, I am going to ask all of you to bow your heads and join me in a brief prayer to whatever higher power or guiding spirit you believe in. Dear Lord, we are asking young people to find their way in a complicated time. In recent weeks, our community mourned the loss of a young man who died at just 20 while serving abroad. We see strain in our democracy, rising cancer rates as we reckon with how we care for our soil, and doubt in public institutions that feels higher than it should be. And yet, this is the world our young people are stepping into. I pray that we keep asking themselves a powerful question. What would I do if I knew I could not fail? And that they have the courage to take a step toward that answer. I pray that they stay curious about one another, that they listen, learn across cultures and perspectives, and grow into thoughtful citizens of a very big world. I pray that they remember the words of the West Point Cadet Prayer, to choose the harder right rather than the easier wrong. Because the truth is, our future depends on them. And I also pray for us, the wise elders in the room, that we do our part to lift them up, cheer them on, and make sure they know we believe in them. And when you leave here today, find one young person in your life and tell them exactly that. Amen. And with that, we will say the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And now we will say the Rotary four-way test. Is it
True? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
So now walk around and greet and say hello to people.
return to our seats. I think last week we had like 10 guests, and I thought to myself we'd never have that many again, and this week we have 11. So I think Katie's, I think you guys are just trying to get me to pronounce a whole bunch of names, so I screw up. But for the many guests that we have today, as is tradition, I will call you out here. Please stand and remain standing, and we'll recognize you as a group when we are all done. So first, two guests of mine, actually, two visiting Rotarians from the Rotary Club of West Polk County. We have Club President Chad Johnson and President-elect Chris Coffin. We also have Adriano Roma Rapal, a returning visitor who visited us last fall. He's from Grandview and studying business administration and is a alum of the Rotary Youth Exchange program. We have Sherry Mullen, the much better half of our past president Sean Mullen, and Drake alum, right?
Yes, Drake alum.
We also have Michael Moraine, editor-in-chief of Des Moines Magazine, guest of Elaine Estes, and nephew of our own Steve Moraine. We have Azul Merchant, another Drake grad, and spouse of our own Kashan Merchant. We have, I'll keep going because we have so many. We have Ahmad Shafee, credit analyst and portfolio manager at Twin Cedars Bank, who actually has applied for membership in the club, and another guest of Kashan Merchant. So, and then Josh Miltenberger, COO at Griner Construction, who has also applied for membership and a guest of Bob Vedral. So finally, we have three other prospective members joining us today at the table there in the middle of the room. We have Alex Black, wealth advisor and private banker at FSB Wealth Management, and a guest of past president Kevin Kassir. We have Seth Hall, founder of Jack Scratch LLC, and a guest of the club. And we have Kevin Courtright, who just moved back to Iowa from Denver and is a former Waterloo Rotarian, guest of John Tome. So, thank you all for joining us. And that takes up our entire hour, so now we can. Next, we have a bracket, bracket March Madness update from our bracket master, Carter Smith. Carter?
Thanks, Tim. Well, March Madness is approaching us. For those that are following along, I think Iowa is down by 4 at half right now. Iowa State, I think, just took the lead against Texas Tech. So tournament games are going on. We're going to have a bracket challenge next week. First round of games are March 19th. $20 to sign up, one bracket per Rotarian. It's very easy to sign up. We do have QR codes at your tables, so feel free to take a picture, use your phone here today. Again, $20 to sign up, that'll be billed to your member account. We'll do 50% of all the money will go down to the Rotary Foundation, while 50% will go to the top 3 brackets. Hope you sign up, and it should be a good time. Thank you.
Thank you, Carter, for leading that fellowship effort. That should be fun and a good way to raise some money for the foundation. So, next on the agenda, I am pleased today to introduce one of our newer members, Steve Moran. Steve, you want to come up and stand here and get looked at while I talk about you? So, Steve's story began a long time ago, as he recently learned that he has 5 relatives who came over on the Mayflower. I'm not sure. I found that out.
I don't know.
Okay.
That's what my mom told me.
His more immediate lineage is grounded in Minnesota, and as he said, starts like a joke you tell at a bar. A lawyer, a salesman, a teacher, an engineer, an artist, and a nun. Apparently were your immediate ancestors. Steve met his wife Nina at St. Olave's College in Minnesota, where she was a great student, and Steve, well, he graduated with a degree in economics, supposedly. So together they raised 2 amazing daughters who are now adults, Carson, who helped produce a recent Super Bowl ad, and Maddie, whose work is often featured in the Dallas area's interior design publications. Nina is a kitchen and bath designer for Swan Creek Cabinetry. And after a career at various ad agencies across the country, Steve recently became president of ZLR Ignition here in Des Moines, a branding and marketing company, a place where Steve is proud to say they use their talents to help people find their well. So as is tradition, we asked Steve the 5 questions of new members. you've got a free day, what would we find you doing? And Steve said he would start with a great cup of coffee in an inspiring place. Then he would probably enjoy one of his hobbies, visiting a place where he can experience others' creativity, playing in his workshop, or a relaxing round of golf. Interesting side note, I actually met Steve before he was a Rotarian on the golf course, so he does play golf quite a bit. Steve would wrap up with the day with a great dining experience. Second question, where in the world have you traveled to and can't wait to go back? Steve said he enjoys traveling wherever he can spend time with his adult daughters. It would be a good bet the destination is either Austin, Dallas, Charleston, Santa Fe, or Colorado. What's the best piece of advice you've ever been given? I like this one, Steve. Steve says, someday it will be your circus and your monkeys, so prepare accordingly. What talent or skill do you possess that might surprise or delight people? And I actually like this one too. Steve says he's particularly good at convincing people he has done things that are completely out of character for him and untrue. So it's a trait that comes out when he's a little bit bored. He says he once convinced a large group of people that he made the Olympic luge team, but broke his arm the week before the competition. The ridiculous part was that he claimed the spandex suit made him look really good. So Steve promises he only uses that superpower for laughs and nothing else. And then finally, the last question. Steve, you have joined the Rotary Club of Des Moines. What can't you wait to tell your friends and family about our organization?
Probably the same thing that everyone here does. But why I love having the conversation is everyone's surprised. They think of us in ways, probably the way I thought of us before I joined. They're very surprised by just how much good this group of people does. We get together, remarkable people in this room today. We talk about inspiring topics that help us off. We have made huge impacts in the community in which we live, and I love being connected to that. And they're surprised to learn that we helped eradicate polio, and we are battling human trafficking today, which is pretty remarkable. But even beyond that, we're part of this global community that enables us to make impacts every day, quietly, to make this planet better for everyone. So I love telling that story, and everyone's very surprised when they hear it. Good.
Well said, Steve. We are glad you are a part of the Rotary Club of Des Moines. So now, we're doing an IT test. I had to do it up here today.
Oh, I forgot to say that. That's why I'm here.
Oh, Rotary Law. Yeah, see? Good idea, Steve. Rotary Law and Disorder. For those guests in attendance, this is my year-long quest, sometimes feeble, sometimes funny, to poke a little fun at my chosen profession, an attorney here in town. And I try to come up with either a case or something funny every week to highlight this sometimes stupidity of the legal system. So last week, I was actually talking to a colleague in Eastern Iowa that I hadn't seen since I had a case with him during COVID in 2020. And we were joking about one of the things to come out of COVID was, Zoom hearings and remote appearances in court. And while it's incredibly convenient for lawyers like myself, if you talk to judges, they will tell you that allowing these remote appearances sort of takes away from the decorum and the respect of the court. I'm sure you all saw like the cat video during, during COVID where the guy appeared with a cat filter on his Zoom and couldn't get it off. So anyway, I found another video. This one's actually from 2024, so it's much more recent. But see if you can tell when the judge runs out of patience with the person appearing before him.
Assistant Public Defender Dan Pate for Mr. Clerk, who should be present, is due.
Mr. Harris?
Are you driving?
Actually, I'm pulling into my doctor's office, actually. So I'll just give me 1 second. I'm walking right now.
Stationary?
I'm pulling in right now at this second. Yes, I am.
All right. What are we doing?
Your Honor, we are respectfully requesting an adjournment in this matter, up possibly 24 weeks if the court would allow.
So maybe I don't understand something. This is a driving while license suspended? And he didn't have a license.
Because of the charges, Your Honor, yes.
No, I'm looking at the record. He doesn't have a license. He's suspended and he's just driving.
That is correct, Your Honor.
I don't even know why you would do that. They're both in this matter. Defendant has turned himself into the Washington County Jail by 6 p.m. today. Failure to turn himself in will result in a bench warrant with no bond.
Yeah, so I'll give you all some legal advice. If you're going to appear for suspended while driving, don't drive your car while you're appearing at the hearing. So, all right, with that taken care of, Nakona Dayton will now be introducing our speaker for today. Nakona?
Thank you, President Tim. It's my privilege to be able to introduce our Drake President, Marty Martin. And as a Drake alum, this has absolutely been a great week, simply because not only do I get to introduce him and share about his background, but as a dog lover, I of course had to point out that the Beautiful Bulldog Contest just drew their 24 opportunities to be chosen as our next Bulldog. Go Dogs. Yes, I'm excited. So, by the way, if you want to be a judge, you're still looking for judges. So, just need to be a Drake alum. So, hop on there, apply. I might. A little bit about President Martin. President Martin has joined leadership Drake in July 2015. He's followed up with a distinguished career as an Air Force officer, a law professor, a dean, and administrator at Texas Wesleyan and Gonzaga universities. Over the last several years at Drake, he's also built upon the University of Drake's success. So he recently led Drake's most successful comprehensive campaign in history, surpassing their original $225 million goal by raising over $265 million goal. Thank you very much. He also has helped launch the John D. Bright College at Drake University and has also led the opening of the Boys and Girls Club on campus, supported the new MediaCom Stadium, and led the revitalization of University Avenue. Drake is more accessible than ever with the Bulldog Promise and the Bright College pathway, and in addition, under President Martin's leadership, it's also launched several new programs, including the Accelerated Nursing, Artificial Intelligence, and Zoology. As this work is grounded in the university's inspiration statement, transform lives and strengthen communities, which is exactly what we like to help do here as Rotarians as well, I would like to please welcome President Martin.
Thank you very much, Nakona. You just covered about half my presentation there. This will be nice and short. No, thank you so much for the invitation to be with you today. It's always a privilege to get to talk about Drake in front of any group, but particularly a group of Rotarians. I do very much appreciate what you do, and have many of my friends in it. I used to be in it. I just can't make the meetings work with my schedule, but I do appreciate you so much. So let's talk about Drake University. As you heard, I am a retired Air Force officer, and when you're in the military, what do you get pounded with every single day? Mission, mission, mission. What is the mission? How do you connect with it? Every single person hears it, and we brought that same ethic to Drake University. So on the screen, you see our mission statement. And we talk about this every day. It is the thing against which we test ourselves every day. Are we integrating liberal arts and sciences so as to ready, with professional preparation, so as to ready our students for meaningful, personalized professional accomplishment and responsible global citizenship? We don't think of that as just a statement, it really is a promise. So when prospective students and those that support them are looking at Drake University, this is what we're promising them. We're going to ready that person for that meaningful personal life, professional accomplishment, and responsible global citizenship. Talk more about those things as I go through. As Nakona shared, we have an inspiration statement. You see that at the bottom of the screen. Together we transform lives and strengthen communities. This is our call to be an institution in action. We're not navel gazers. We're not living in our ivory tower, if you will. We are thinking about how what we do makes a difference in lives, not just the lives of our students, but all of those persons that we connect with and all of those persons and entities that also depend upon us. How can we do this very thing, transform lives and have that aggregating into strengthening communities? Again, it's our call to action. Something what we've added recently, and indeed our board approved these in January, are what we call our identity statements. Our continuous improvement plan, which is the strategic plan for Drake University, on top of that is mission, inspiration, then identity, and you're going to see the remainder in just a moment. But in each step, we're getting closer and closer to the actual work. And we decided late last spring that we wanted to put in the middle of this plan these identity statements. And they were in part a reaction to what we see around us. For example, AI. And you see here, we empower human connections. I was growing increasingly troubled about the influence of AI on education and on education at Drake University. Technology doesn't tend to bring us closer together. It tends to push us apart. And the ethos of Drake is highly, highly interpersonal. Those things that I talked about in our mission statement, we do those things one student at a time. And I wanted to be certain that we are not going to lose that in the age of artificial intelligence. So that was one of the inspirations. Another was this cultivating belonging. There's a lot of rhetoric around us about these people versus those people, these groups versus those groups, or these are insiders, those are outsiders. We reject that notion entirely. We reject that notion entirely. We wanted to put a stake in the ground in those terms, and again, we cultivate belonging, embracing differences to strengthen our community. Also, we are proudly of our place. We love being in Des Moines. We think it's incredibly important that we are here. We wouldn't be able to thrive without Des Moines. We also think Des Moines couldn't thrive without us. I'll come back to that theme as I go through the presentation. But again, these are new, but yet they are very much direct statements about what Drake is all about. I mentioned the remainder of our continuous improvement plan. You see it on the screen now. We are organized as you move from mission, inspiration, identity, now to commitments. And you see the 4 on the screen: teaching and learning, innovation and reflection, execution and stewardship. In each of those commitment areas, we have objectives, and for each objective, we have performance measures. And then sitting at the bottom of the plan are the initiatives. And as we embrace or vet a new initiative, we work back up through that plan and ask, is it really going to move the needle in the ways that we have said we must move the needle in order to keep that mission promise? So we come all the way back up to mission. I would encourage you to take a few moments and look at the public presentation of this plan. You can see the address at the bottom of the screen, but frankly, the easier thing to do is just Google Drake University Continuous Improvement, and this plan will pop up. It's really easy to navigate. It intentionally looks a lot like Netflix, and we're all used to navigating through Netflix. So you can click into a commitment, you can see the objectives, you'll see some data points, when there'll be a little plus in the square, click on that, you're going to get a story, either a video or a static story with images that just tell you what's happening at Drake. 30 minutes, you're going to be very, very well informed about it. So again, Drake University, continuous improvement. So let's now talk about things happening at Drake. This is a picture of our entering class from last fall. Obviously, they're on the football field, forming a nice D. 700 of these students coming from all over the country, and indeed from many other countries around the world. We have 125 students from 50 different countries on our campus. I'll talk more about global affairs in a moment. But it's always a joyful time to get to the end of what we call Welcome Week. This is when we take this picture, and I am really impressed by the optimism and kind of goodwill of our current students. And that's been true of the last few years, really coming out of COVID. And that's against what Jackie was talking about a moment ago. These are challenging times for me. I'm 64 years old. I just can't imagine how they land on an 18-year-old. Actually, I can imagine because I see it and I hear it from them. And yet they still bring this optimism. And we should take heart in that. We should encourage that. We should facilitate that, support that in any way we possibly can. So again, that cultivating belonging identity statement. This is not new for Drake University. So up at the top of the screen, this text comes from Drake University's original charter filed with the state of Iowa in 1881. And I'm just going to read the sentence here. All the departments of this university shall be open alike for both sexes and for those of any religion or race. Again, 1881. And our founders actually put out a press release containing that same statement. Now, I don't think they were thinking in terms of diversity, equity, and inclusion in the ways that we talk about today. But I'm pretty confident they were thinking in terms of justice. That what they were going to create, what they were creating, was going to be a powerful way through higher education for an individual to realize their best self, for themselves, for their families, for those they would go on to serve. And as a matter of justice, that opportunity needed to be available to all who could do the work. Again, regardless of their sex or their religion or race. That expansive welcome was extended to international students 4 years later. That's Mr. Zhu Hawk there on the far left of the screen from China. And it's continued to be a part of our ethos since 1881. We often use the word diversity. We are thinking as well about justice. That what Drake does is powerful. It's proven to be powerful. And if you can do the work, we want those students there so that they can find the kind of success that our alums have found for 145 years. Just a couple of other pictures. This was our first faculty, includes a female faculty member. Our first class included a female student. Had about as many students as we had faculty in that first class. This is our first African American graduate of our law school. In the late 1890s, we had an African American graduate of the undergraduate program before that, and an African American graduate of our medical school before that. We had a medical school in our early days. So again, that welcome was not just on paper, that welcome was practiced, and it is today as well. One manifestation of that is the Bulldog Promise. We rolled this program out last fall for the last recruiting cycle. We expanded upon it this fall for the current recruiting cycle. If you are a Iowa resident, first-time attending college student who is Pell eligible and achieve a 3.5 GPA or higher in high school, you can attend our bachelor's program tuition-free. Tuition-free. Again, we're back to that notion of justice. And we don't want individuals to not be able to come here because they can't afford it. Beyond that, we provide very robust institutional financial support to every student who attends Drake, because our goal is to make it as affordable as we can for as many students as possible. The Bulldog Promise is just a manifestation of that. John D. Bright College is something that we launched in the fall of 2021. It is a college at Drake that awards associate degrees. 2 of those, both fully articulated to our bachelor's degree, so students can move seamlessly from the first 2 years into their junior year, and that's what most of them do. But they can also go into the world of work with this Drake education, this Drake degree, and many of them make that choice. We are achieving what's called a 100% accomplishment rate for the graduates of John D. Bright College. That means 6 months from graduation, they are every single one of them either in a job or pursuing the next level of education. This is a really unique way of delivering education. It's a cohort model. The students come in together. That means they right away find community. And when you find your community, you're ready to take advantage of what's around you. That anxiety goes down, the capacity to learn goes up, and these students thrive. Excuse me. They're not taking 3 credits here, 3 credits there. They're taking one big semester-long seminar that's multidisciplinary, interdisciplinary, project-based, working with many different faculty over the course of the semester. So it's really unique, it's really powerful, and again, it leads to the kind of success that we promised back in that mission statement. They're finding those meaningful, personalized professional accomplishment and responsible global citizenship. And by the way, if you are an Iowa resident, first-time attending Pell eligible student, and you're admitted to Bright College, you can attend that tuition-free as well. So for any Pell eligible student in Iowa now who gets admitted to Drake, there is a path to a free education. And what does that education lead to? You know, talk about student success, which is what we're always focused on. So 83% of the students that start with us earn their degree in 4 years. 90% of our graduating seniors have 1 or more internship, and frankly, the others just don't want one because they could have it if they did, and most have more than one. And that leads to what you see at the bottom of the screen for our bachelor's program of a 95% accomplishment rate. The average over the last 10 years for that is over 97%. I think as you all understand right now, there's a bit of a dampening effect in the hiring market now, and yet we're still sitting there at 95%. That means 6 months from graduation, 95% of our graduating seniors have a job or are pursuing an advanced degree. And that's an elite outcome, has been forever and remains so. And that really is a function largely of that internship. And this is where I make the plug for these. You know, if you get a Drake student, no matter where they're from, and you get them in your business, what that leads to, the vast majority of the time, is no matter where they're from, they stay here. Because they start to imagine themselves living here, and when they do that, their eyes open, their heart opens, and they realize this is a wonderful place to be. This is a wonderful place to make their lives, and that's how so many people came to find Des Moines through Drake, through an internship. Now they've been here forever. Maybe that's your story as well. Oftentimes, you know, because we're private higher education, people think we're unaffordable. I've just hoped to dispel that notion with the Bulldog Promise and John D. Bright College, but also on the screen, you see that a Drake education pays off. The Department of Education every year reports median earnings, and that is 10 years from when the current class that they're assessing started their program. Not when they graduated, when they started their program, what are their median earnings? And what the DOE is doing is associating tax returns with FAFSA filings from back 10 years earlier. Every single year, Drake University leads the state by a wide margin. Here you see the most recent results. We're at 72,000. Our closest competitor is University of Iowa at 64.7. So again, that Drake education pays off at the median term. Median federal debt. This will surprise people, that you see the balance between the median federal debt of a Drake student versus a student attending ISU or University of Iowa. And that 2-year default rate. That just tells you that Drake graduates, of course, are able to finance the debt that they incur as a means of getting their education at Drake. That 2% default rate is exceedingly low and elite outcome. And then I go back to the top of the screen. You've got the accomplishment rate, so they're in a job, they're pursuing an advanced degree. As they walk across that graduation stage, no more than 6 months later, median earnings, we lead the state every single year in that category. And then there have been 3 studies done since I've been president at Drake University of lifetime return on investment for all colleges and schools, universities in the country. And we have been in the top 3% on all 3 of those studies against every school you've ever heard of. Top 3% for lifetime return on investment. And this ultimately gets reflected in the rankings. We do not bend our work, adapt our work to what the rankings are trying to assess. We trust that if we do things the right way for the right reasons, in service of mission and inspiration, that the rankings will catch up to us, and they have. So we are a top 100 private university in the U.S. in both the Wall Street Journal and U.S. News and World Report's national rankings. Talk about some particular things that go on at Drake. This is a picture of some of our students who've been engaged with the Robert D. and Billy Ray Center at Drake University through the Character Counts program. The Character Counts, we've been home for Iowa Character Counts for about 28 years. In 2019, we became the home of Character Counts Global. And so now through Character Counts Global, from the Robert D. and Billy Ray Center at Drake University, we are serving over 9 million children around the world. And that number has been growing significantly. This is character and leadership education from early childhood centers through high school, and we can all appreciate how much that's needed. And we're seeing that demand and meeting that demand. We recently partnered with CBS News on their Kindness 101 platform, and so we provide a lot of curriculum through that platform, and we've reached over 150,000 educators over the last 18 months through that effort. At the same time, the Ray Center is also the leading programmer for state legislators on how to have civil, respectful conversations with each other. We're working directly in over 25 state legislators. We're also working with the National Council of State Governments and all 4 regional councils of state government. We also just had our 4th annual National Summit on Civility and Local Government, and have delivered that each year. That's done in partnership with the Olson Institute for Public Democracy, which I'll talk about in a moment. So much happening in the Robert D. and Billy Ray Center, led by Scott Racker. I trust that many of you know Scott. I always say he is the absolute most perfect person for his job that I've ever met in my life. He lives and breathes this. He is just there's no one who manifests character and leadership better than Scott Racker. The Harkin Institute. Recently in September, we had brought aboard a new executive director. This is Craig Owens. Craig is a longtime faculty member at Drake in English. He also was our founding dean for John D. Bright College, so everything I said about that earlier, a lot of credit to Craig for that. Brought him over to the Harkin Institute, and he's thriving in this role. He and I were in Vancouver, British Columbia last week, meeting with the Rick Hansen Foundation, which is kind of a corollary in Canada to the Harkin Institute. We're looking for some real partnerships there that we're excited about. So the Harkin Institute, as you know, is carrying forward Senator Harkin's legacy. We work with labor and employment, retirement security, wellness, and then supporting people with disabilities. Senator Harkin was, of course, the author of the American with Disabilities Act. So a lot happening there, both locally, nationally, and globally. Always a joy to see our students perform in the various ways that they perform. These are some arts performances. You've got Legally Blonde, a musical from the fall, a jazz performance in the Turner Jazz Center. This was the opera from a year ago, Hansel and Gretel, and then a juried student art exhibit in the Anderson Art Gallery. We do over 300 art events a year at Drake University. So if you're not plugged into that, you might get plugged into it, and you can really see some wonderful things. It's always inspiring to see what our students can create. Drake Athletics, we just have a lot of fun. We have a whole lot of fun. The picture on the left is a men's basketball game last year. They love it when we hand out the balloons. They just go nuts when we hand out the balloons. The picture on the right, that's actually a correct picture. That's Zoe Mahoney on our soccer team. Zoe does a flip throw from the sidelines. And of course, she gets that ball way out there. You might have seen this, not this season that just passed, but last season, Zoe actually scored a goal against UNI with a throw-in. Now, those of you who know soccer know you can't do that. But the UNI goalie didn't know that and tried to block it and just got a fingertip on it, so that made it legal. And Zoe made ESPN's top 10 for that. So we've had a lot of success at Drake Athletics. A little down year on the basketball side this year, but still up year in many other ways, particularly always in academics. Our student athletes have set records for their average overall GPA for the last 14 semesters in a row. We produce academic All-Americans, athletic academic All-Americans at a clip greater than any other school in the country on a per capita basis. Our students, athletes also succeed in the community. They do thousands of hours of community service every year. We talk to them constantly about, by virtue of being a Division I student athlete at Drake University, you have a platform, and you have an obligation to use that platform in a way that represents yourself and represents the institution and leverages it to the good of others. People like to see that. People like to have them come around and make a difference in their lives, and they embrace that. And then we win on the field of competition. So this fall, we won men's soccer regular season title, women's soccer regular season title, and our third conference title in a row in the Pioneer Football League. Right now, our men's tennis team has won 13 matches in a row. So we want them to succeed in the classroom, in the community, and on the field of competition, and that's exactly what they do. And we have a lot of fun along the way. So it was mentioned that we closed our campaign, our comprehensive campaign in October 2024. I just wanted to hit a few highlights. Some of these were already mentioned. You know, the Harkin Institute building, the Johansson Student Center, the conversion of Morehouse Hall into that. If you haven't seen that space, I encourage you just to come on campus and walk through it. It's absolutely spectacular. We love doing things in partnership with others, so that's what Mediacom Stadium represents, our partnership with Des Moines Public Schools. That is a beautiful space. Kids love playing on it. We love being there and watching them play on it. And then the Gregory and Susie Glazer Burke Boys and Girls Club in partnership with the Boys and Girls Club of Central Iowa, another big focus of our campaign. And the CEO of the National Boys and Girls has told me it is the best club in the country. We launched, I mentioned a moment ago, the Olson Institute for Public Democracy. This was the day that Ron and Jane Olson, who are on the stage there, they're Scott Racker, by the way, came and we announced their $5 million gift to endow the Institute. The purpose of the Institute is to help us reclaim the project of forming a more perfect union. We're focusing on strengthening people's knowledge of democracy, their ability to practice that, their commitment to supporting it, things that of course are incredibly important to us today. We have the J.N. Darling Institute, another thing that came out of the campaign. The Darling Institute's focus is on helping revitalize and sustain rural America. You might say, well, why is Drake doing this? We're an urban campus. Yeah, but we are in a largely rural state and a largely rural part of the country. We have educated tens of thousands of rural Americans. We have been led by rural Americans, myself included. I'm from a very small town in Kentucky. We have great partnerships in rural America, and we recognize there is this divide between rural and urban that is not healthy. and we want to do our part in helping to bridge that divide. We've got in both the Olson Institute and in the Darling Institute scholars students who get additional financial aid in return for them rendering service. So in Darling, this summer we'll have 13 students spread out not just across the country, but indeed across the globe, out embedded in communities, doing projects that those communities defined as a need for them. We don't go tell them what they need. We ask them to tell us, and then we match a student supervised by a faculty member to deliver an outcome to that community that makes a difference in those lives. Back to that inspiration, transforming lives and strengthening communities. We also, in the campaign, were blessed with a major gift from Larry and Kathy Zimpelman, and we named our College of Business after them. I know I don't need to introduce Larry Zimpelman to anybody in this room. So privileged to have him as a alum, and also as a former board member, the first board chair when I came on board, and still a great supporter and friend of Drake University. And then let me touch on our global mission. This is something we're spending more and more time on, and you'll see why as I go through these slides. We've always been a global institution. You go back to Juhawk joining us in 1885, that mission statement promising our students we're going to prepare them to be responsible global citizens. If we're going to meet that promise, we got to send them out into the world, we got to bring the world here. And you see evidence of that here. I mentioned how many international students from how many countries. We have 19 international partnerships in 13 countries, and we don't try to collect these just to collect them. We only enter into a partnership if we can do something meaningful and material with that school. We have a 32% study abroad participation rate amongst our graduating seniors. That's against the national average of 16%. So we work really hard on making that happen. We are ranked 36 in the country on that participation rate. This last fall, we had 5 international faculty on campus. This spring, I think we have 6. And then we've been a host for the Mandela Washington Fellowship since 2016. That's what this picture is. And not from this, this is from last summer. Unfortunately, the current administration has canceled this program for now. We've got some inkling it might come back. But maybe some of you had the opportunity to meet these fellows when they would come to Des Moines. They would come from sub-Saharan Africa. They are young professionals, really highly educated, incredibly motivated, who come to Drake for 6 weeks. We integrate them across all of central Iowa, businesses, nonprofits. They go out and do 2 days at a small town, and they just go away so impressed with this place, and we go away in awe of them. Honestly, the most amazing people I've ever met in my life, I have met in this program. To hear the challenges they are faced with, and nevertheless their determination to make a difference, and the fact that they are making a difference, is something that I cherished. I lament that we won't have this next summer, but hopeful that it will come back in the not too distant future. So we are engaged in what's called transnational education. This is taking Drake degrees and delivering them overseas to learners. And this is consistent with mission. We've always been about meeting learners where they are. We've done that in many different ways. Now we're doing it by taking our degree programs and embedding them in other countries. On the screen you see pictures from our partnership with Qingdao University in Qingdao, China, for what's called the Qingdao Drake United College. We now have 330 students in China in their freshman or sophomore year pursuing a Drake degree in either biology or data analytics. Those students can choose to come to Drake next year or in their 4th year and study here, and many of them will make that choice, but they don't have to. This is what's called a 4.0 program approved by the Central Ministry of Education in China. Ambassador Terry Branstad was instrumental in us securing this partnership, because these are just not given out to anybody. Indeed, the year that we were approved, only 3 of these were approved across the entire country. So this was our original class. This was this fall, went over and welcomed the sophomore class, and it's always an occasion. It's really always a wonderful occasion. So in the fall, actually we started working with Nanyang Science and Technology College, is what you see the branding behind that picture, and over here as well. We started working with them about 2 years ago on the possibility of taking Drake degrees to Singapore. And now we're in the thick of doing that planning with the goal of launching our Doctorate of Education in Singapore next fall. My colleague Anik Keel is in this picture on the right. Anik is our Chief Global Affairs Officer and Dean of Global Programs. So she leads this effort for us. This is the chair of the board for Nanyang, and we were there in October. I lose track of these trips, but October, kind of signing the final agreement with them and getting this thing launched. And we'll add additional degree programs to Singapore, excuse me. Heavy thumb. There we go. Another big project in this transnational education space is we are going to open a campus in Panama in the fall of 2007. We've already signed our lease, we've got our legal entity established, we've got our lawyers, we've got our CPA, we've got our payroll company. I'm doing all that because that's been a lot of work over the last few weeks. And this is going to be on the campus of Ciudad del Saber, City of Knowledge. This is the old Fort Clayton when the U.S. controlled the Canal Zone. It's been converted to Ciudad del Saber. It's been in existence for 26 years. They focus on education, innovation, entrepreneurship. It is a beautiful place, and it's the perfect place for us. Because of their special economic zone, we get to bring our accreditation with us, so we don't have to be accredited by the Panamanian government. They have their own visa granting authority. They also have some exemptions from Panamanian labor rules that allow us to use foreign faculty. If we want to use foreign faculty, that would include our own, and we will. So just a perfect partner. We have a lot of really successful alumni in Panama, and so they're able to make introductions for us really to any level of business or government. So all doors are open. We just met with the CEO of the Panama Canal Commission 2 weeks ago, and that was a fantastic meeting. They want to do a lot of things with us. At the bottom, you see me signing this agreement. This is Dr. Ortega. He's the CEO of Cineseat. Cineseat is located at Ciudad del Saber, and they drive the national agenda on innovation, science, and technology. And they are working right now on the Panamanian National Strategy for Artificial Intelligence. And when that strategy is unveiled, right now it's looking late May, early June, Drake University's Bachelor of Science in Data Analytics with a minor in Artificial Intelligence to be delivered entirely in Panama at Ciudad del Saber is the undergraduate program for Panama's national strategy on artificial intelligence.
Wow.
So we're making a lot of gains there, and we're going to add additional degree programs and have this presence up and running in the fall of 27. Still other work that's going on for us internationally was in India following the Singapore visit. We just signed an MOU with KR Magalam, a private university in New Delhi, late this Monday night. So we're looking at partnerships with them. Was in University of Limerick in Ireland in November, entered into what's called a direct admit program with them, so students can go to Limerick and enroll, gain credits, and transfer those back to Drake. This was a picture of me at Harlexton in England with our students on a study abroad program that's sponsored by the University of Evansville. And then the top picture on the right is just a recent visit to the Bahamas. We have 25 Bahamian students at Drake right now. We probably have maybe in the 40s next year. We've become a real partner of theirs. This is the Ministry of Education that provides scholarships for those students to attend. We've got 2 other entities there as well providing scholarships. So went and paid them a visit and thanked them for all that support. So a ton happening at Drake University. Along the way, we still have a lot of fun. This was when I made the mistake. How many of you know about the paint fight associated with Painted Street? Okay. So they paint where the blocks are painted. You've seen that. Well, the last thing they do is they have a paint fight. We rope it off. And if you're inside the ropes, you're fair game. So I got inside the ropes. They were really excited to try to dump paint on me. I literally was digging paint out of my ear for 3 weeks with a Q-tip. But it's fun. Our kids are great. Love being the president of Drake University. Thank you. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, perfect. Sorry, I went a little long.
No, you're good. You had a lot to talk about. Thank you, Marty. Marty said he'll stick around for just a minute if you guys have questions for him. But thank you, Marty. Truly appreciate you sharing your time with us and your insights and the leadership you bring to Des Moines and Des Moines' hometown university,
Yes,
Drake University. Okay, upcoming speakers, real quick, as we do every week. Remember, you and a guest need to RSVP by 9 a.m. for our Thursday lunches, and you can register through the email you receive on Friday or on the Tuesday newsletter. Remember, you have to contact Kitty regarding guests. So next week is spring break, so a lot of us will be, myself included, out on Thursday. So we will have some speed networking, a great time to get to know your fellow members at your lunch table. Probably not appropriate to bring guests to this meeting because we won't have a featured speaker. March 26th, when we get back, Caroline Myers, Director of Education at Des Moines Performing Arts, strengthening students, schools, and communities, a peek behind the curtain of the Iowa High School Musical Theater Awards. And then on April 2nd, Jeff Condon, who is the Leisure Services Director at Polk County Conservation, will be here to talk about the exciting project at Sleepy Hollow Sports Park that you've probably seen in the news. So A couple other ways to get involved and to network with your fellow Rotarians. President-elect Josh Braby is hosting the Spring Fling at the World Food Prize on April 7th. So the email invite link was sent last Thursday. Be sure to RSVP on time and join us for an evening of fun at this great iconic venue. You heard Carter Smith talk about March Madness. Join the bracket for some friendly competition there to help our foundation. April 2nd is our golf fellowship at Top Golf in Des Moines, in West Des Moines. Cost us $25 a person. Sign up by contacting Austin Goodnight, who is our golf fellowship organizer, and thanks to him for his leadership on that. And then finally, as I always reference, we had a great morning fuel this past week with Dick Stauffer. One more that we have scheduled on the calendar right now is Tuesday, May 5th, and will feature Jackie Norris. So for those of you sticking around, there is an awards committee meeting after lunch to help select the Educators of the Year, which is an upcoming program. And as I say every week, thank you for being with us today, and thank you for being a vital part of the Rotary Club of Des Moines. Thanks to our many guests, and formally welcome to Steve. Stay true to the good. We are adjourned.